Make sure you start out with a new file. Press R for the rectangle tool and start at the origin. So hover over the origin here where the axes meet. Click, move your mouse up and to the right. And before you finish drawing this rectangle, move your hands over to your keyboard and type 30 in the foot mark for feet, comma, 15 in the foot mark for feet, and press the return key on your keyboard. Then roll your mouse wheel forward to zoom in, and hold down on your center mouse wheel and move your mouse to orbit into 3D. We're going to create a very simple house. So press P for push-pull, hover over this flat surface, click, begin push-pulling up, and move your hand over to your keyboard and type 10 and the foot mark for feet and press return. So we've got a 30-foot by 15-foot by 10-foot box that we're going to turn into a little bit more of a Monopoly-style house. Press L for the line tool and hover along this top edge until you find its midpoint. Click and draw back in the red direction all the way back to the opposite midpoint and click. So we've drawn a center line. Press M for the move tool and hover over this center line that we just drew and click once and let go of your mouse and move your cursor up in the blue direction. And as you're moving it up in the blue direction, type 5 and the foot mark and hit return or enter to move that up 5 feet. Now in this example, we're going to draw an addition off to the side of this house on one side and then a nearly identical addition on the other side using two totally different sets of tools and strategies. So let's orbit around to one of the sides first. I'll orbit around to this side for me. Press L for the line tool, and along this edge towards the back corner endpoint, but not all the way there, but fairly close, click and draw away in the green direction. Now, as you're drawing away in the green direction, in 3D it can be tricky sometimes to hold on to an inference, so we're going to talk about how you can lock that inference. Press the left arrow on your keyboard. Now, anywhere you move your mouse as you're in the middle of this, you can only go in the green direction. So this is helpful to know that we're going to lock the green inference. Go ahead and type in 6 and the foot mark for feet and hit enter. Then in the red direction, press the right arrow on your keyboard for red. Now it's locked. And let's go in this red direction and let's type 15 and the foot mark for feet and hit enter. Now we can draw back in the green direction. We don't necessarily need to lock the inference here because we can trace all the way back and make sure we have our green inference. Make sure it's green and click on that edge. So we can lock the inferences and draw on that ground plane easily. Now let's trace from this corner endpoint up. So click on that corner endpoint and draw up and click to finish on the top edge. And we'll do the same thing again. Click on this corner endpoint, draw up in the blue direction, and click on the edge to finish. Now we want our addition to have a slope that matches the slope on our house roof. Here's how to do that. Hover over with the line tool, hover over this left corner endpoint, click, begin moving your mouse up in the blue direction. Press the up arrow on your keyboard to lock the blue inference. Now you can move your cursor anywhere. And move your cursor, don't worry what it infers along the way. It's going to jump around, but move your cursor all the way up to the top roof. I haven't clicked yet, just hovering. And once you're on that roof slope, click on it, and you will finish drawing the line. Now you have a rubber band line attached to your cursor, which allows you to finish tracing up to this corner endpoint here. And you realize what happened there was this roof has an infinite plane, and that plane cut through this edge at this point in space. So when you inferred this plane, SketchUp said, okay, I see what you want to do. You want to stop drawing this point right where that plane would extend to. Let's do the same thing down here. Click once, Move your mouse up, press the up arrow on your keyboard to lock the blue inference, and then move your mouse right on top of the roof surface and click on it. Then move your mouse, you have a rubber band line, move it onto this top corner endpoint and click there. And you'll finish drawing that side in. And now trace from corner endpoint to corner endpoint, and you'll get all of those surfaces to fill in. Okay, so let's try to draw something similar using a different set of tools and techniques. So orbit around to the other side. This time, we'll start with, rather than the plan view or the footprint, we'll start with the profile or the elevation of this. So press R for the rectangle tool. And somewhere along this top edge, click once and move your mouse down to the right and down to the bottom edge. And remember, this is a 10-foot tall side of the house. So if I move along and then go look in the bottom right corner of my screen at the measurements box, it says some number of feet and inches by 10 feet. So the second dimension here for me is 10 feet. It may be the same for you. It might be different. But whichever dimension is 10 feet, we need to keep that at 10 feet, and we need to make the other one 15 feet to match the other side. So in this case, I'll type 15, the foot mark for feet, comma, 10, the foot mark for feet. So 15 feet by 10 feet, enter. And I have the same size. Then press P for push-pull and hover over that new surface on the side of the house. Click and push-pull out and go over to your keyboard and type 6 feet and hit enter. That's now push-pulled out 6 feet. And now let's make the slopes match. Press M for the move tool. Hover over this outside edge. Click to begin moving it. And as you're moving down in the blue direction, to know where you actually need to finish this off, you'll need to infer the top roof. But first you have to lock the blue inference, so press the up arrow on your keyboard to lock the blue inference. And then move your cursor. Don't worry that it's going in the wrong direction. Just move it all the way onto the roof slope and click on it. And it will drop that down sloped. So we talked a lot about inference locking, and the way I remember it is the up arrow is for blue. That makes sense. Blue is vertical. The right arrow on your keyboard stands for red. That makes sense to me because the right arrow starts with the letter R and red starts with R, which leaves the left arrow for green. The down arrow is a different inference in SketchUp 2016 that we'll talk about in a future lesson.